And welcome to Fruit Talk. This is the place where we talk about all things fruits and vegetables, what's going on in the news, maybe some interesting things that have come up in my daily life or current events. Or maybe I got a couple questions from people through my YouTube or an interesting email I received. Whatever it is, it's all things fruit. And um, we're going to be doing this every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern, so stay tuned for that, and hope to see you guys through more episodes. Let's get into this one here. It's episode number 2, and the first thing I want to talk about is honeyberries or hascap berries, because they are going to be, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, the next big thing in fruit. Um, I think you'll certainly start to see these things in grocery stores over the next 10 years, more and more. They look a lot like blueberries. Here's a picture of a couple of them here. And I think they're larger than blueberries, at least they're longer than blueberries, and they're beautiful. And they're also very tasty. I'm growing them myself here in Zone 7. They're more of something that you would want to grow in a colder place, but you can grow them, in a warmer place as long as you don't get hit by many late frosts, because these guys bloom very early, and that's a big thing you want to watch out for. This is where I get my plants, um, Honeyberry USA, and they're actually shipping out their plants right now for the fall. I just got an email from them, and I've seen different charts and whatnot on the honeyberries. Um, Here's a couple charts I posted on Facebook on my Facebook page. Um, Here's a breakdown of the flavors, different varieties, and what category they fall in. Um, for me, most of the varieties I've eaten and are growing are in the sweet tart category, or are more tart. And I think if these varieties of honeyberries that I have could be significantly more sweet, then I think they're going to be a huge thing in fruit. Um, so I'm this year experimenting with more sweeter varieties that I didn't know this was a thing, that some are just more sweeter. Um, but Boreal Beauty is one, and Boreal Blizzard is another, because they're also late bloomers. You can see Boreal Beauty here, and or Beauty here, and Blizzard here. So this is late or very late, and this is what you want for someone who's in Zone 7 that could potentially get hit by a late frost. So I got to have something that's late blooming, and I'm trying to find something that's very sweet. So I think these charts really came in handy for me. Kudos to whoever came up with them. I forget the source, but pretty cool. If you're not growing honeyberries, I totally suggest you guys get on that. On to the next thing here. One of my comments recently on YouTube is from MR Green, Mr. Green, and he says, I've been learning the past few years that the exotic figs just aren't that good in a colder climate. The common tried and true figs I can really ripen to a really high quality with ease. You can invest in the most expensive figs, but if you only get a few half-ripened figs, it's not worth it. Figs change so much in how well you can ripen them. Ripening is overlooked in many discussions, and he's had figs fall off the same tree that have been both really good and really bad. So I completely agree, Mr. Green. And I'm going to put out a video in the future, next couple weeks. I just filmed it. It's 43 minutes long, talking about the most impressive varieties that I grow here in Pennsylvania, Zone 7. There's at least 20 of them that I've mentioned, and the majority of them are not easy. They're not hard to find. They're quite common, and they're really, really good, and they're also quite productive, making figs actually a thing you can grow in zones 5, zone 6, and zone 7 when you normally you probably didn't think you could. But I totally agree. When you're getting a fig that's from some other country or is completely unproven, and the prices are high, chances are it's not going to be the best thing in the world, and you may only get a couple figs every year. And that's especially without a greenhouse. For me, trialing all these different varieties, I'm at like 170 right now. it's a bit more worth it to me because I have a greenhouse and I'm able to do things that most people in this area can't. So great comment, and yeah, I completely agree. Next, we have a question in my Facebook page here that Jerry had sent me. Um, Jerry asked me a couple things actually back to back. And I think I'm going to answer this because we're going to do a separate video on these questions here that Jerry asked in the next couple weeks. A lot of them are related to rooting cuttings of fig trees. So we'll go over that when the time comes in its separate video. But I thought to hold everybody off because I keep getting similar questions, I feel like I need to put out those videos quick because I'm just going to keep getting the same question over and over and over again. But he's asking me when's the best time to prune. Prune your fig trees in the wintertime when things are dormant. You want the sap flow to completely go back into the roots. That's what happens, is that when the fig tree goes dormant, the sap flow goes downwards into the plant, into the roots, and is stored there until the spring. And then in the spring, the sap flow goes upwards and sends out all this nice growth for you. So you got to wait for that sap flow. It would be nice if your trees were fully lignified as well, to take cuttings, because the cuttings that are not fully lignified just don't last as long in the fridge. You can store them for quite some time, and you can do it anytime you want, as long as the sap flow isn't there, and as long as you're getting the lignification that you want. Let's see, I guess November is better from a winter storage point of view. He also asked me if I coat the wound when I prune, and this is actually a topic I really wanted to talk about in this video. I didn't want to just talk about figs, but this is one that I don't really know a whole lot about, because there's two schools of thought, and Jerry loves to give me those questions. There's two schools of thoughts for a lot of things in growing. There's a lot of schools of thoughts for a lot of things in growing, and there's so many different ways to do things. To say one thing is wrong or one thing is better is really difficult because it depends on where you live. Each scenario is different. Each situation is very different. And for me, I don't have a particular opinion on this topic because I've seen people promote it that I respect, and I've seen people say just leave your tree alone. I think if you coat the prunings that you do, coat over that with wood glue or some kind of sealant, you could be potentially trapping in disease, which I think is the big argument of why you should just leave your trees alone and let them heal on their own. They will callus over on their own without any help. We don't need, it's nice to be able to direct nature in the way you want, but it's not always necessary. So I'm more on that side of the argument. But to be honest with you, I don't really know the exact answer, and I think we probably may never know. But that is my opinion: is that just let nature be. And about rooted cuttings, more and more on that. If you don't have a room or light in the house, can they wait till spring? They can, and they can store for quite a long time, Jerry. It's just, again, if it's a green cutting, it's probably not going to make it through the winter time in your fridge. You really have to store these cuttings properly to make them last a long time. I've had some that lasted easily a year. I still have some in my fridge right now from last winter or even last fall that are completely viable. So yeah, he says a head start would be nice. It is nice, and that's why people do it in the wintertime. Or if in the spring, should I just refrigerate them? With what method do you still get a good success rate? How long do they store, and how do you store them? The method I use is the direct potting method. Again, we're going to put a video out on this exact topic in about a week, maybe this weekend. And then how do I store them? I put them in plastic bags. I wrap them in a plastic bag, and then I put those plastic bags in a larger plastic bag, and they store really well that way. They don't get too wet, and they don't get dry at all because the plastic keeps in that moisture. Um, yeah, so I think that pretty much answers mostly of what Jerry was saying there. And lastly, I want to show you guys a photo. This is some kimchi that I made. And I didn't post a photo of this on my Facebook or Instagram or Twitter yet. Maybe I will, but the recipe is actually quite simple. It was very simple to make, and I love this stuff. Kimchi just really has a lot of probiotics in it, and it seemed to be very easy to ferment. You just leave it on your counter. Um, you get all the ingredients, you put it in there. You take the cabbage, the Napa cabbage, soak that in a brine for a day overnight, and then take that out of the brine. Combine that in with your scallions, your garlic, your radish, whatever it is you want to put in there. Mix all that up with some fish sauce and some red pepper and some soy sauce, and you pretty much got it. Mix that all up, stuff it in the jar, as compact as you can, and then add the leftover brine into the jar and let it sit on your counter at room temperature and ferment for 4 days. It's really, really simple, and then you just stick it in the fridge and you're done. You got kimchi every day. It's a lot cheaper than buying it. It's super expensive at H Mart where I get mine. It's like for this size kimchi. It's about $45, and you could very easily do this for probably less than 10 every time you do it. Well, maybe even less than that. Cabbage and radishes and scallions don't cost a whole lot, so it's just the excess there, and the fish sauce and the soy sauce and the red pepper that kind of adds up, I would think, and make it a little bit more expensive. But it came out well, I think. It was the first time I did it, and there's a little bit too much red pepper. You can see how dark red this is. Way too much red pepper in here, so it's quite spicy, but I don't mind it. So yeah, that is the video, guys. I just wanted to inform you of all those little things. Hope you enjoyed this one. That was Fruit Talk, and this was episode 2. So hope to see you guys every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern. Talk to y'all soon. Take care.